Namaskar. Welcome to Bharat Chintan. I am Vinaya Bhai. In the introductory video to this series, we spoke about dying countries. What is this about dying countries? Well, Japan is the third largest economy in the world, isn't it? It is one of the fastest dying countries. Shocking. That is true. The median age in Japan is almost close to 50, 49.9 as of the last count. It has got only about 15.9% of its population, which is below 20. To understand how this happens, take a look at the graphic to your right. If necessary, maybe you could pause and take a look. Here I am following two couples, over a period of 6 years. The first one does not have any children. The second one has a first child 3 years later and another child 3 years after that. So as you can see, we are starting with both couples who have an average age of 27 years. In the first one, after 6 years, the average age has increased by 6 and it is now 33 years. In the second family, when the first child is born after 3 years, the average age from 27 came down to 20 years. Another 3 years later, when they had the second child, the average came down to 17.25. So 6 years later, whereas the first family had an average age of 33, the second one had 17.25, which means almost half the age. Now this concept can be applied to any population, a community, a city, a state, a country. The concept remains the same. When new children are born, the average age goes down. The moment new children stop being added to any community, the average age goes up by 1 year every year. So the fact that Japan has an average age or a median age of 49.9 means that for the last several years, the number of children being born is not enough to keep the median age down. Scary. Japan is the third largest economy. So let's look at the second largest economy, China, which is, I found out that last year for the first time, the population of China has gone down. It is no longer the most populous country. The most populous country is India now. One of the statistics that I was able to find out was that in 1970, the median age in China was 20 years. In 2023, it is 39.6, which means in 43 years, the median age has almost doubled. Now, when we look back at the example of the family, we can safely assume that again, there are not sufficient children that are born to keep the average age down. With China, it's easy to pinpoint the reason. China has had a one-child policy for the last several decades. Now, the question arises, are these the only two countries which are facing such a crisis? Well, as I went through some more research, I found out that there are actually more than 50 countries which have a median age above 40. The size of the population does not matter. The fact that the median age is above 40 means they are all in the same situation. They are all countries that are slowly going to shrink in their numbers. A higher number of older people means that healthcare requirements go up. There are lesser and lesser number of young people who can take care of the aging population. More than that, what happens to the wealth? You and I work hard, we create wealth with the assumption that the wealth we create will be handed over to our children. If we don't have children, then the wealth that we worked so hard for will go to somebody who probably may not care about us and for whom we don't care. Now, when this situation hits a population, what will happen? Nature does not like a vacuum. If there is nobody to inherit the wealth that countries have created, somebody else from outside, maybe by force, will take over that wealth. That is why so many countries in the world today are in a crisis mode. Is there a solution? Is it possible to reverse it? I don't know. But we can explore why this is happening. I hear a lot of talk these days where couples say, we can't afford to have children. We will have children when we can afford them. Being able to afford children means that children are born later in life, which again adds to the problem of aging. The average ages, even at the beginning, remain high. They say demography is destiny. And it is true. For any country to remain energetic, productive, and growing, it requires energetic young populations. As the number of aging people rise, the proportion of working age population becomes less. Is that a good thing? We've heard of population explosion. In fact, from the time when we were in school, we were told that the world faces a problem of population explosion. If that was so, how is it that there are so many countries which are having a shrinking population? Of late, there has been a lot of study being done on that. Population explosion is a problem. Agreed. Population shrinking is a bigger problem. So how can we know whether a population is increasing or decreasing? And you might well ask, we in Bharat, we don't face that problem. Ours is a young country. Our population is increasing, so why should I listen to you? There, my dear friend, is where the problem is. Just because at this point our population is increasing does not mean that it will remain so all the time. There are indications that sooner or later we could also be in the same situation. Whether we are going to be in the same situation or not, we will learn when we understand some of the concepts and terminologies related to population studies. Let me give you a teaser. There is a term called total fertility rate, and that is what determines whether a population is going to increase or decrease or maintain its levels. But that is a topic for the next video. For now, think of what it is going to be like for people who don't have children. What will happen to Bharat, say 50 years from now? Will we be a growing population? Bharat is rising, its GDP is increasing, we are creating wealth. But is there going to be anybody we care about who will enjoy that wealth? It's a serious thought. On that thought, I will leave you for now. Do come back for the next video where we will speak about total fertility rate. And from there, we will progress to other ideas about how not to get into that situation. Maybe there is something we can do at this point. A course correction that will ensure that we don't end up in the same situation that wealthy countries are facing. Namaskar.